Thanks for the laugh. I hope that doesn't make it on the, yeah, I hope it does. Anyway.
Yes, we've been laughing a lot already.
Oh, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Sisters in Service. This is your host, Kat Corchado. And yes, I'm laughing because we've just been having a ball talking about real life and boys and all that that implies. My guest today is Dr. Destinee Prete. She is a PhD I can't even talk. She is a okay, Kai, let's do that again. Welcome to another episode of Sisters in Service. This is Kat Corchado, your host. And today, my guest is Dr. Destinee Prete. She's a PhD in industrial and organizational psychology professional. She's an Army veteran. She's a business owner, and she is the president and co-founder of We2AreVets. She's a mom. She does all this stuff. Destinee, welcome to Sisters in Service.
Thank you for having me, and I appreciate that. I know it's a mouthful. You know, it is for me too.
Girl, I don't even know where to start with a PhD in dish. I'm like, huh? I just had, you see those cartoons with the big old question mark.
Yeah. That's my life story. I'm in a field that it is that way. People are like, what in the world is that? And I actually really like the ambiguity of it because it gives me an opportunity to talk about it. So
absolutely. Well, welcome to Sisters in Service. And I first want to start off in asking you, did you choose the Army or did the Army choose you?
Wow. When you asked that, actually, to be honest, I got the chills a little bit. I would definitely say the Army chose me.
Do tell.
Oh, I know. I'm like, oh man. Actually, it's interesting. I grew up in a family of military. So my mom served, dad served, brother served, and then I served, and my husband.
Oh, no pressure, right? No pressure.
Right. It's like I came from like a line of like, and they were all Army. But I was always the one who was a little bit like, yeah, I don't think that's for me. I was not a girly girl at all, actually. I was quite a tomboyish, kind of really into sports and all of that. And so my dad always said, you should probably join the Army. And I would always kind of fight him along the way. Like, nah, I just don't think that. I went through phases where I thought I wanted to be like an FBI special agent. Like I had
you'd be a good one. You've got the look for it.
I appreciate that. My dad told me, he's like, you'd be the best interrogator ever, and I was like, ooh. That was actually like what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be in the military, but September 11th happened. And my dad at the time was active duty. And on September 10th, 2001, he was on a mission to Jordan. And so when September 11th happened, he was stuck in Amsterdam. And my dad was one of the first to go into Baghdad whenever that happened. And that experience really opened my eyes to the possibilities of not only, I wanted to be involved. I wanted to know everything. And I was young at the time. I couldn't know all the things, and I shouldn't have known all the things. But I was so driven to what is he doing? How do I get involved? I became almost disgustingly patriotic in a weird way, where I was like a girl wearing all the American flag stuff, and I had American flag pants and a purse and a shirt, and I was just that girl, and I was so proud of my country. And so I started to really start to think about the military from that point forward. And I also didn't want my parents to ever say that they paid for my college. So ... So I heard that I could do ROTC in college. And so that's what I ended up doing, was going into the ... through ROTC so that I could have my college degree, have my college fund, and then still go into the military. And my parents could never say, well, we paid for you. So ...
Absolutely. Well, I think it's funny that you said how you became really, really patriotic, because I feel as though sometimes veterans are the only ones who understand when they hear the national anthem or anything like that, how that feels. And I remember I was stationed in Korea, and we would do these exercises, and these exercises would be a week long. You're in chem gear, everything's closed. You go to your dorm room, you go to work, and you go back. And in between, there might be sirens when you're walking, and you'd have to dump into what's called a ditch, which I did not do, y'all. I ran like crazy to my dorm room. But I remember you would always hear, I forget who the singer is who says, "I'm proud to be an American." He sings that song. And I was never so glad in my life to hear that song or see the American flag. And so it was funny when the basketball player who was held in Russia, and she came back and she said, the national anthem means so much more to me than it did before. And you don't get it until you're in a situation like that. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that's, a lot of people are like, yeah, it's not a national anthem. Even at a baseball game, people are on their phones, they got their hat on. I just want to knock it off their head. It's like, pay attention.
I would get, every time you said it, like I've been getting the chills, like literally from my head to my toes, because it, to me personally, Destinee means so much. Like it's got so much, not just meaning behind it, but like so much motivation and so much desire and so much, like, I just feel so pumped and like so much love in a weird way that it is kind of weird for people sometimes, and I know that it can make people feel uncomfortable when I feel that type of way. Like, for example, if you've ever been to the restaurant Mission Barbecue, every day at 12 o'clock Eastern, they play the national anthem in the restaurant.
Oh,
and everybody,
wow.
like, all the workers stop, and but there have been a time or two where I've happened to be in that restaurant and people aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, in my opinion. And then I feel very like, I don't say anything, but my kids have taken note of it. In fact, my kids now will say something to the effect of, why do you think they don't want to do that?
Yeah.
And it always makes me like, it's just, that's how I feel too. Like, why wouldn't you want to do that? Now, why aren't you doing that? Why do you not feel, and like, why do you not want that? Why is that desire not existent for you? And so that's where I kind of go. And sometimes it makes me feel a little bit sad, actually, where it's like, well, if they feel that way, then maybe there's a reason behind it. And like, let's talk about it, or let's change it, or let's talk about. So to me, it's always like an open-ended, like, why do you not have that desire? Question mark.
Exactly. Well, even when people go to another country and something happens and they get stuck in that country, what's the first thing they say? I'm an American. I'm an American. Okay, now you're American. Oh, okay. Stuff like that. It really resonates with me.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I know that's an unpopular opinion for some, but I think, like, especially coming from our backgrounds, like, it's so, it's hard to understand why not.
Exactly. It is. It's hard for me to understand.
Yes.
And even harder for me not to say something or do something. So I have to kind of sit on my hands, and every time I want to say something, my husband just gives me that look, that look like, you better not say it.
Mine too. Mine's like, oh no, the Destinee, like, I don't know if it's a wrath of Destinee that's coming on. I don't know if it's like a curious Destinee.
Hurricane Destinee.
I don't know what we're getting. He gets a little worried. I feel, and I honestly have learned how to kind of moderate my emotions, because I don't want to make my family uncomfortable.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But
it's hard
to them.
Yeah.
I'll be like, well, why wouldn't they want to do that?
I know. I feel the same way.
Yes.
So when you got out of the military, how was your transition? And is it connected to your why for helping other veterans?
Yeah, definitely. The second part. My transition, though, was interesting. And I say that because I think it might only resonate with a few women in particular, but it could resonate with a larger community as well. I wanted to run away from the military, and I didn't want to stay connected to it, because I just was so driven to be with my family, even though I was a military spouse. And I had a really hard time figuring out what identity I was, because like I did not feel like a veteran. Like I did not feel like a veteran at all, because I left the military when I was pregnant with my third. I had twin babies who were at the time 9 months old.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I was just like baby, like world, toddler world was
Absolutely.
like where I was headed. And so I wanted nothing to do with the military, because they were holding me back from being the best mom that I could be. And so I was ready. And my husband was like, well, maybe you should stay connected to like the spouse community. And I'm like, well, I don't know that I fit into that community either. I wasn't sure. And so I completely kind of just left it behind in a way where I didn't even acknowledge, like, I didn't want to be part of the FRG. I didn't want to do any of that stuff at first. And then I started feeling very alone and isolated. I started feeling like all I was doing was like being a mom. Not that that was a bad thing, but I didn't know who Destinee was anymore. I was just doing. I made jokes, but they were real, that like all I knew how to speak was toddler. Like that's all I knew. I wasn't sure like how to have an adult conversation. But at the same time, I was going to school online for my PhD in IO. And so I was really struggling because I was in class with like people who were like out there in the real world, civilian world, we call it, doing business ownership and like CEOs and like HR managers. And I'm like, but then I realized, okay, wait, hold on. Some of those things that I learned in the military can actually apply to some of this stuff. What? And so I started realizing that the military is a lot like a regular organization. We can learn a lot from the military, and the vice versa. The military can learn a lot from organizations and like
Absolutely.
behavior. So when that started to come together, then I started to kind of seek out the military community a little bit more. And I finally went back to work 4 years later. And the first job that I actually got and applied for was a career counselor for the Army's Transition Assistance Program. And that is where I realized my love, not only for, the community, but like my love for, wanting to work in this space and be connected to this space. Like I ran because I wasn't ready to kind of confront some of those challenges I think I had. And whenever I came back to the community, I was so ready to like deal with those challenges. And I was like hungry and motivated to help. And I realized that I was thriving by helping others thrive in our community. So I was like, wow, like I didn't realize how much I actually needed this and how proud I was to be a veteran at that time. But for a long time, I was a mom. That's all I felt like I was.
Well, you don't know what you don't know. And, even getting out when I did, no one says, oh, now you're a veteran. You don't feel like a veteran, but you're straddling two worlds. You're straddling a civilian world. You're not military. You're not really civilian. It's like, where do you fit in?
Yes.
And I've always try to tell active duty women to know who you are prior to leaving the service. When you take that uniform off, are you going to wonder, okay, what do I do now? Who am I now? Or do you already know who you are when you take that uniform off? And I think men go through that too, but women seem to, because we've got our own worlds, we've got our kids, we've got our jobs, we've got our families, and we're not sitting there going, excuse me, I'm a veteran, hello. And not because we don't want to, but we're just busy.
Yeah.
And then you find yourself lonely and alone and going, okay, where is everybody? Because I'm like you. I grew up in the military. My father was Air Force. And, I always joke that, I can be on any base. It could be a Marine base. I'm like, oop, these are my peeps,
Yeah, absolutely. Now
that's what,
yes.
But that's where I feel comfortable. So it's really hard, unless you're talking to someone and they say something that's kind of military and you kind of look at them and go, are you a veteran? And they're like, yeah, how'd you know? I'm like, no one else who isn't military doesn't say that, So it's really hard for women to connect. Men tend to do it all the time, but I think it's interesting to ask that question for me when people come on the podcast, because everyone's transition was different, good, bad, or maybe, it was okay. But I find that women tend to have a harder problem. So I know your mantra is service beyond the uniform. What does this mean to you?
Everything, actually. It's interesting. We just talked about what we just talked about, because now that I look back and think about even my military experience, I didn't feel as connected to the military while I was even in the military. I feel more connected now that I'm outside and embedded in the community than I ever did. I feel like so much closer to mission, so much closer to, everything than I did even when I was in. And so service beyond the uniform means just like, I feel very strongly about, servicing people that have gone through similar experiences, by helping them get through those experiences just by sharing, right? So like, and if you think about our community, like our community in the military is very, very, connected by that transition experience, whether they like it or not, right? It's like,
Yes.
it happens because every single service member goes in and every single service member leaves.
Has to at some point.
I mean, yeah, like whether, whatever that looks like for you could be completely different, but like every service member becomes a veteran. And so we don't really talk about that until like we experience it or we're getting close to the experience itself. And
Absolutely.
so when we are gone and when we leave, like so the service beyond the uniform to me is like, how do I help make it better based on my own personal experiences for those who come behind me and those who are beside me? And I also believe very strongly in just sharing other people's stories, like being a voice where others can't always be heard, or making noise in a forum where sometimes you're not like the most popular opinion. And I feel that way now because I have confidently navigated some of those hardships of transition and know that I can get through it. So if I know I can get through it, I feel like everybody can kind of get through it, right? So
Absolutely.
I feel like I just need to like lead the way in that way where it's like, here, like, and not necessarily being in the front, but saying like empowering people to be able to do the same.
Yes. Because I still feel like women are struggling with transition,
Yes.
still more so than their male counterparts. And I was thinking about this the other day, wondering why it's so hard for females, but also, men to connect after service. And it's because when in the military, you automatically connect with someone in uniform, right? You see the uniform, like, hey, you don't really have to do a whole lot because you know a little bit about this person. But then you get out and you forget how to network. You forget how to connect with someone. And it could be something as simple as a smile or a girl, love them shoes, or something. You know what I mean? We forget those little nuances of how you connect with people. And
Yes.
it can be really, 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 really difficult. So I just thought that was it sounds very simple. But the other day I was like, oh my God, we don't have to when we're in uniform because we're all wearing the uniform, regardless of whether it's Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, whatever, or
Yeah.
Navy, you don't have to. So I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I actually talked to a colonel real quick. I talked to a colonel during my dissertation phase where I actually interviewed women who were going through the transition process or had recently transitioned. And she said something to the effect of, I don't even know how to be a civilian because the other day I got invited to a women's like outing and they were all talking about cooking. And she's like, I haven't talked about cooking ever in my military career. Like, 'cause she was she was on like the special ops side and she was like part of, the very like hua kind of
Yeah.
group. And so she was like, we don't talk about cooking. Like, she's like, so I felt really uncomfortable. She's like, I didn't
Mhm.
even know she's like, I didn't know how to talk women, is what she said. And I thought that was really interesting because I thought about it and I was like, it's true. I remember I actually have a documented picture of myself when I left the military, the first time I actually curled my hair after the military. I was like, look, I know how to curl my hair. Here's a picture. And I like made a big deal about it. But
Yeah.
I felt like I was learning a new skill. I know that seems crazy, but like
It's
it's
not
true.
crazy, but I mean, when you get out, no one says, here's the clothes you wear. I mean, they're like, oh, wear business casual. I'm like, what is business casual?
Yes.
You have to learn your hair, your makeup. Men just have to buy a suit and they're done. Shoes to match, done and dusted, right? But women, it's so much
That's
harder
true.
because you don't know what looks good on you.
Yeah.
You go from your uniform to jeans or whatever. And
Yeah.
it's a lot more difficult, I think. I got to go to a conference and it was women, active duty military women from all over. And I got to speak there. And I remember the taxi pulled up and, because they changed the rules for women's hair and everything in the Air Force. And I kept looking at this woman and I was like, what's different about, and her ponytail was touching her collar. And I was like, oh, that's right. They changed and I was glad to see it. It was a wonderful conference. It was amazing. But, just those little changes, those little things, that we weren't allowed to do, but just knowing that stuff when you get out.
Yeah, absolutely. That, and like even like the color of their nails being allowed to a little bit more relaxed, being able to wear certain earrings. I know that seems small and that seems like very like gender specific, but the truth is there is some identity, like the way that you're allowed to present yourself really impacts like the way that you live your life, even post service. Like you don't automatically, just because you like shed the uniform, now know how to do these things that seem so like duh, like, oh, it's different. And it's different when you get out because there's added pressure of being a certain way when you're leaving too, right? So that pressure just makes it a lot more difficult to figure out.
It just piles on top of everything else that you have to learn.
Like, man, guys, just like get through this, please.
So, Destinee, your nonprofit, We2AreVets, is for and about women veterans.
Yes.
What need does your nonprofit fill for the women veteran community?
So the mission of it is to honor, empower, and recognize women veterans. And so I know that there are so many other veteran service organizations out there. My job or my role in this was not to replicate all of those things. So one thing I wanted to do was to kind of build a collaborative network. And so that's something that I have been building over the last, I would say 7 years now, is just really getting to know my network, what exists, what resources exist. So that was the first thing. The second thing is I really feel strongly about not giving people stuff, but empowering them to do and to take action for. So, for example, I have one of the things I'm working on right now is actually what's called a self-advocacy micro-credential. And so I have a group of interns that are working for me for We2AreVets. And they are creating a micro-credential or a learning experience where we're going to really coach and advise and mentor women veterans about how to like self-advocate for themselves in their workplace and in their life, building those skill sets, and then actually challenging them to demonstrate those skill sets. And then getting that credential for themselves, because it's something that we don't talk about, is that self-advocacy piece. That I think is incredibly powerful and it can empower women in uniform and outside of uniform and overall. So it's to give women the tools to go out there and to be able to meet the goals and the targets that they want to meet. And then additionally, I have worked with a lot of organizations, nonprofits, industry, and kind of teaching them and coaching them about and informing them about our military community and about what value women veterans bring to the table. For example, I've talked with organizations who have all of these specific, goals for their DEI programs, for example, but they don't consider veterans as part of their DEI initiatives. And so I'm always like, not only are you missing a target here, because like, let's get real, like veterans represent the general population as far as an identity perspective. Like we are all of that. We meet like the women, men, gender, backgrounds, nationalities, like we can go on and all of that. So, but you're missing a huge talent pool here of these women veterans who aren't self-identifying as women veterans, first of all. So like if you're not targeting them in a certain way, and I don't mean like targeting in a bad way, I mean like recognizing that those skill sets exist out there, then you should probably figure out how to kind of get them into your ranks and into your organizations, especially in your leadership space. Because
absolutely,
I mean, we're so equipped. Like, let's get real. Like,
we're so good.
Like, come on now. Hello. Like,
well, you don't know how good I am. No one told you.
Exactly. Like, same here. Like, come on now. But like, especially probably being in this community a long time, women veterans are some of the most incredible people overall, but especially women, because they are just strong. They're kick ass. Like, they can multitask, they can step up, they can they're just confident. Like there's all these things. And we don't take advantage of that in the best kind of way, especially organizations. I feel like organizations are really missing out. So I always advocate for that. So anytime I can get an opportunity to advocate for any of those kinds of things, I do. And I take full advantage of. And if you've probably seen me on LinkedIn, I am all over the place on purpose.
Yes.
Always finding opportunity to advocate in those spaces.
I think it's funny you were talking about multitasking, and I remember talking to my husband, and he was like, well, you know what multitasking means? You do a lot of things, but not very well. And I said, that's just because you're not a woman. Because think about it though. Aren't we forced to be multitaskers? Aren't we forced into it?
Yes.
I mean, think about being an entrepreneur, being a mother, trekking kids to school, from school to activities, to running your business. Okay, seriously, that's multitasking on a level that, I'm sorry, guys, I'm going to say this, that a man will never understand. I'm just going to say it. I'm putting it out there.
I wanted to say, do I need to talk to your husband? Question mark. I feel like, no, but it's definitely it's interesting. It's, whenever veterans leave the military, they're always like, well, we're the jack of all trades. So we can do all the things, we're multidisciplinary. And it's true to a degree, we're supposed to, right? We get this technical occupational code that aligns with these soft skills that we get. And then we automatically also get leadership skills from the very beginning, whether we like it or not,
Yes.
So all those things are built on purpose over time. So we do get this multidisciplinary type of skill set when we leave, but we also get really, really, really good at multitasking, especially women, because we usually have all those additional things we have to do outside. Not to say that men don't do it or don't have those responsibilities, but by nature, we tend to be the caregivers, and we tend to also be the volunteers and the, taxi drivers. And so all of these things. So we have to have good. And you know what? The reason he asked you that question is because you make it look so easy, girl, that he doesn't even recognize. Okay.
I had to tell you that. I was just like, yeah, okay, yeah, dude, whatever.
Thank you very much.
So, Destinee, how do you balance the demands of running a business with your family, your job, and all your other responsibilities?
Actually, I think that's one of probably my strengths, to be honest, is just being able to balance. And I do that through honestly, just taking time for each task. I know it sounds crazy. I always tell people there's this lady on Facebook called the Fly Lady. If you've never looked her up, she's really interesting, but she talks about every day taking the time to shine your sink, because when your sink is shined, then everything else around it, you feel the obligation to go fix that up and fix that up. So, there's this weird thing that happens whenever you're productive in one way. So I have kind of learned, if I spend maybe 10, 15 minutes on a task very specifically, suddenly I become really, really, really productive. And so I take the time to, I'm very organized. It's actually an organized chaos is what it is.
See, I knew I liked you. I'm like that too. My husband walks in my office and he goes, oh my God. He goes, how do you find anything? And I'm like, what do you want? And he'll name something it's right there.
Oh yeah. Way. Oh yeah. It's, it's definitely, and I don't know if people can see this, but if they can't see it, there's there's a door behind you that has sticky notes.
Yes.
So I can see that. That's exactly how I am in that way, where it's a structure that I understand and it works for me. But my kids, no matter what, my kids are always, always, always first. So that makes it really easy to understand my priorities. And I have built very, very strategic, but strong and authentic relationships with people. And because of that, work and all of those other things that come into my life all the time, they always are flexible with me. Why? Because they know my priorities and because they know me. And so suddenly I don't have to explain. I don't have to. So that is how I've been successful, is building those really strong, authentic relationships in a strategic way where it benefits my ability to be able to do all of these things. And I also listen to my body. You know, I'm a disabled veteran, and I'm very in tune with my health, and that's always, regardless, is going to be number one, you know, next to my kids, because sometimes you can only do what you can do. So just being in tune with myself and being very focused, and then really just always working on those relationships helps me navigate the challenges of doing all the things, juggling.
Right.
You know?
So which leads to my next question is, what is your go-to when taking care of yourself? Do you exercise? Do you meditate? Do you close the door, you know, put a do not disturb? You're in the bath, you've got your iPad, you got your glass of wine. You're like, what is your go-to?
I have two things. One is working out. I love being in the gym. So my gym hour is my like time to completely, like, I put my headphones in. I've got horrible RBF. Okay. And I am super, super focused on only the task at hand. In fact, I only pull my phone out to listen to the music, make sure my music is working. Anything else, it's like, don't get involved in Destinee's gym time. If I don't get the gym time in, I figure out the time to like, but I work out. It makes me feel really good. It makes me feel very empowered and strong. And so I love weightlifting. Like, I have found like a new love for something that I used to absolutely despise. So that's my first thing. And the second thing is, I spend a lot of time at night by myself. Like, I need to decompress. I need to go. So I will close the door. I will watch nonsense, disgusting drama TV.
Right. You don't have to think.
Yeah. Like,
okay. Let's dish. What show do you watch?
Oh gosh. I watch all the shows. Like, I'm a documentary girl. I love documentaries. I love horror movies. I love scary stuff, but I also really like Selling Sunset. I used to like watch The Bad.
I watched Jerry Springer. I
love me some talk shows.
I know. My husband, guys, he's like, why do you watch this? I go, because every time I think I've got it bad, I watch Jerry Springer and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah, that's what I do too. Like, all of the trash TV. Like, I watch like The Bachelor, like all of the good stuff, right? Where you're just like, why?
Well, you don't have to think. You don't have to think. Yeah. Gives your brain a rest.
I say that all the time. And honestly, like, my go-to is honestly like paranormal and horror movies. And
I love all of that.
Me too. I'm a huge horror movie and like huge paranormal fan. And I really like parapsychology. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes.
I love it.
Do you?
Love it.
You'll have to tell me a show you watch on that, because I just think
there's a lot.
I love all that stuff.
There's a couple cool documentaries actually, and they're all on Amazon Prime.
Ooh,
so yeah, they're really interesting. Yeah, and so people think I'm like kind of crazy when I tell them like, yeah, I like gore and blood and ghost and all that, but I think it's because it's just so interesting and so different. And like you said, it doesn't require you to think. It's like you can just unwind and like watch and just be like, what? You know, like, just make reactions.
I know. I know.
And I always have a like big bowl of popcorn at night too. So my husband knows, and he makes jokes on me. He's like, why is our bed got popcorn crumbs in it, girl? Like,
oh my gosh.
I need to decompress. Just leave me alone.
Yeah. Just close the door. Just turn back around. No judgment. No judgment zone. So Destinee, how has your military experience prepared you for entrepreneurship? And what skills have you found most helpful in helping to run your business?
Entrepreneurship. I think that it's honestly, veterans make the best entrepreneurs.
Right. That's what I said too.
They're just, they want to, like, they get things done. They get things, like, they'll figure it out. Right.
Yes.
So it's like one of those things where, and honestly, like I said, the relationship building, the military really forces you to build relationships, even with people that may, you know, like conflict management and conflict resolution and negotiation and communication, like all of those things really help business. And let's get real. We all enjoy a level of risk when we join the military. We kind of enjoy that. If we did it, we would not join. And then when we leave, we have this like weird fear that like, oh, where's the adventure at? Like, we need the next adventure. Entrepreneurship gives you that opportunity.
That's an adventure. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not for the faint of heart at all.
It's not. And so I really like that. I enjoy that. And I think that those things that I mentioned, those soft skills, it's all that soft skill stuff is so, translatable to entrepreneurship.
Well, I think our tenacity too, we're in that, it gets hard, but we just dig in and we put our head down and we keep moving forward. It might be a small step here and there, but we just keep it moving. We don't say, oh, it's too hard.
Yeah.
I can't do it. We just go ahead and we get it done. Yeah. So one last question for you. What advice would you give to other female military veterans or military spouses who might be on the fence of starting their own business, or they're not sure they should start their own business? What kind of words of wisdom would you give to these women?
A couple of things. First of all, this is going to sound weird, but I like when people are uncomfortable. Why? Because that's where growth happens. If you're hesitating, jump in. If you've made all the plan and everything is perfect and all that, and like everything is left, right, left, guess what? You've waited too long. The hesitation is the time to jump in.
Oh, you're getting ready to get ready.
Yeah. And because here's the deal, how many times have you probably said that you wanted to do that and you've waited, and here you are, you're still saying the same thing. So, and it doesn't have to be like this beautiful written, like this beautiful model of anything. Like, let's think about a lot of the most successful business owners out there happen by accident or happen because like they found like that they were filling a void. So like you have to get out there. And I always tell people, especially because I'm in a field of study that is very, like I told you, it's misbranded. People don't really know what it is. It's ambiguous. You have to kind of go through things to figure out what you actually like to do, what you actually want to do. Mm-hmm. So as a business owner, it's the same thing. It's like, consider it like an exploration type of thing. And if you feel that way about it, you take more risks. You're open to more opportunity. You communicate your stuff. Like you're not like very like, on LinkedIn, we call it being pitch slapped whenever you're pitch slapped. Like you're not doing that because it's something that you're trying to figure out. So if you feel like if it's an exploration type of thing, which is exactly what I've done. And I have found so much opportunity because I have been open-minded about my business. So I have a loose structure around it. I have enough boundaries set in, and I have things that like, I know that no matter what, I can kind of fall back on because of those relationships that I talked about earlier that I've built. So if you're hesitant, just make the first, second, third step. Like it's as simple as, like look up your state requirements. It's not complicated to start a business. You can start a business in a couple hours. Did you know that? It's crazy.
Yeah. Start off simple. Like real, even just looking up certain things, getting in groups of people that are interested in those things that you're interested in, simple things like that.
The momentum.
And sometimes, and I'll tell you this, is that it's okay if you fail forward. And what do you mean by fail forward? I went into real estate about 8 years ago and hated it. Every last thing about it. I hated it. And so I said, okay, let me go on to my next thing. But at least I tried it.
Yes.
Because I didn't want that. Could I have? Would I have? And, I call it failing forward. It wasn't a failure. I had some sales. I just didn't like it. I didn't like any part of it.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to leave it there. Destinee,
and I want to say really quickly, I wanted to say this because I don't think people think of this. If you go through those experiences, not only do you fail forward, but you also know and learn about what you don't like or what you don't want.
Yes.
Right?
That's huge. Yes.
So flipping that narrative on like, okay, well, now I know what I don't want, or now I know what I don't want to experience, because you have to have those to know and to grow, period.
Absolutely. Destinee, this has been a fantastic conversation. I think we talked a lot about everything almost.
We did, and they didn't even put like 5 minutes of that conversation before we started. So yes.
Oh, Destinee, where can people contact you if they want to know more about We2AreVets?
Yeah. The best way is to go to, I'm on LinkedIn all the time. So find me on LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn, then you can actually go to the website and you can do a contact form there. or you can send an email to info@we2arevets.org.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you on. For you guys listening, I've been trying to get her for a while, and she finally said yes. Yes to the podcast.
I have been wanting to for a long time. But I feel like we become like a broken record sometimes whenever you're like talking about these topics. And so I've been really forcing myself to try to expand the way that I am approaching these. So I really appreciate you with these questions and giving me that time. And I'm really glad we connected recently. Actually, I feel like this conversation was a lot more laughter than it would have been, months ago whenever I was in a different headspace even. So
yeah, I want it to be fun where we just kind of giggle and laugh and give some information. So I'm so glad you were able to make it today. It's been such a pleasure having you on. And for everyone listening, please stay safe, take care of each other. Until next time. And it's never too late to start your impossible.